Floyd Mayweather defeats Andre Berto with a 12-round unanimous decision. Now, this fight was a messy fight, a scrappy fight. A lot of that was down to Andre Berto because he was attacking in a very overzealous fashion. There was lots of holding, lots of mauling on the inside. Again, Floyd was doing his fair share of it, but I think the majority of it was initiated by Andre Berto. He was very tight, and Paulie Malignaggi commented on that. But Malignaggi was talking about Berto being tight as if he'd never watched Andre Berto fight before. Andre Berto always fights tight. He's always like a coiled spring and never as relaxed as he should be. He's not a thinking fighter. He's not a cerebral fighter at all, Berto. He's always been this coiled spring, overly tight, overly anxious kind of fighter. And many of his fights look like the way the Mayweather fight looked, in terms of lots of mauling on the inside and all that kind of stuff, and Berto not really giving himself enough space to get his shots off. Typical Berto fight in terms of the way it looked. Mayweather, for his part, was as cool and composed as usual, trying to sit in the eye of the storm, so to speak, and land little counters here and there. And he did fairly well at it, but I don't feel this was one of Mayweather's better performances, to be honest with you. This is a guy in Andre Berto who was knocked out by Soto Karass, who was dropped and beaten up badly, really, by Robert Guerrero and Victor Ortiz, although he did score a knockdown against Victor Ortiz. But I felt he was more thoroughly dominated in those fights than he was in this fight. And we know Mayweather's not a knockout artist. He's not really a puncher. He has hand problems. And apparently he hurt his left hand in this fight rather than his right hand, which is the one he normally hurts. But nonetheless, you would have wanted to see Mayweather dominate a guy of Berto's level more so than this. You really would have wanted to see Floyd Mayweather beat Berto up. And one of the things that was interesting is that Floyd Mayweather's right hand wasn't landing as often as we're used to seeing in most fights. And I think that a lot of it was down to the fact that Berto was rushing Mayweather so much. And obviously Berto's got quick hands. Mayweather didn't feel comfortable enough. He felt he didn't have enough time and space to let his straight right hand go safely, because Mayweather's a safety first guy, and he's not going to let a shot go unless he knows it's safe to do so. And I guess with the speed and the bull rushes of Andre Berto, he just felt, you know what, let me keep this right hand in reserve, maybe use it on the inside with body shots and stuff like that, which is what he did. So we didn't see the laser-like straight right hand at long range that we're normally used to seeing. And Amir Khan will probably look at that and think, you know what, if Berto was able to do that, maybe he won't be able to hit me with a right hand either. But will Amir Khan fight as aggressive a fight if he ever gets the Mayweather fight? I mean, a lot of people are assuming, and obviously Mayweather says that this was his last fight. Will Khan ever get the opportunity to see if he can better his stablemate Andre Berto's performance against Floyd? That remains to be seen. But he may take heart from the fact that Berto wasn't getting hit with that straight right hand, which is Floyd's primary weapon. Floyd was doing a lot more work with the left hook, leading with a left hook, and a lot more work with a jab in this fight than he normally does. He adapted to the situation. But yeah, overall, my impression was it was a lackluster fight, as most Floyd fights are in terms of excitement. It was lackluster. Berto tried his best. You know, you got to give credit to Andre Berto. He's always a guy that gives his best in every fight. He tried his best here. He's trying to feed his family and pay his bills and whatnot. So definitely not hating on Andre Berto. He tried to do his thing, but he just didn't have the skills or the sophistication to be able to get it done against Floyd. He tried to do it simply by outworking him. And he did outwork Floyd in quite a lot of rounds, but there was nothing clean landing. You could probably count on one hand. In fact, I'm sure you could count on one hand the amount of clean headshots Berto landed throughout the fight. And like I say, Floyd wasn't his best performance. He didn't land that many clean headshots himself, to be honest. We've seen Berto finish fights before with swollen eyes and looking badly busted up. He looked completely fresh in this fight. hardly a mark on him, because Floyd was landing clean shots, but they were not especially authoritative or solid. They were little, tiny little shots on the inside mostly, and the odd left hook that was catching Berto on the side of the head rather than banging the face. He did manage to stun Berto slightly towards the end of the 12th round, but other than that, no one was hurt in the fight. There was no real dramatic moments. A spirited effort from Andre Berto, but ultimately a losing effort. So let me know how you felt about the performance by Floyd. Did you, like me, feel like it wasn't Floyd's best performance? Let me know what you thought about Berto's performance, and what do you take from this fight? If Floyd decides to fight on, do you think that the current crop of younger welterweights are going to take heart from that performance? Do you think people like Sean Porter, for example, who may be able to fight a similar fight to Berto, but maybe with more physical strength, although Berto was a very strong fighter himself? What about Keith Thurman's chances against Floyd Mayweather? How do you think he would do? Or Kell Brook? Or Amir Khan? Let me know how you feel those fighters would do. Personally, and this is going to sound controversial, very controversial, because I've seen a lot of hate for this guy already, but I think Errol Spence, if, from a style point of view, if you give Errol Spence a year or two, and most likely there won't be a year or two to fight Floyd, he'll be probably gone by then, but if you gave him maybe a year and a half, I think he would be the biggest threat to Floyd Mayweather style-wise in the welterweight division. If you move up a division, you got people like Erislandy Lara, for example, and Demetrius Andrade. Those are guys in the light middleweight division who I think would be a serious style problem for Floyd. But in the welterweight division, I think Errol Spence, he's a decent size southpaw. He's quick. I'm not saying he would beat Floyd, but from a stylistic point of view, I think that would be Floyd's biggest problem. I know a lot of people are hating on Spence and all this kind of stuff, saying that Thurman would knock him out easy and all these kind of things. Spence is on the way up. All right, he ain't fought nobody yet, but look, everyone, I'm not saying everyone, but most fighters in their career on the way up, they fight gimme fights, journeyman, fringe contenders before they start fighting legitimate opposition. So let's not be hard on Spence because he's only doing the same thing that everyone else was doing. He's calling out people like Keith Thurman. He's supposed to call out people like Keith Thurman. And I tell you what, if and when the Thurman fight gets made, let's say the fight gets made in a year's time, I'm telling you right now, Spence is a serious threat to Keith Thurman. I'm telling you that right now. Spence is a good talent, very good talent. Obviously, we need to see him step up his level of opposition, but that's to come. But yeah, back to the point, the current crop of younger welterweights, who do you think is the biggest threat to Floyd style-wise? And do you think any of those fights are realistically going to happen? Do you think we're going to see a Thurman fight, a Khan fight, a Danny Garcia fight maybe, Sean Porter? Will those fights happen? And which one of those guys would have the best chance of defeating Floyd Mayweather, if not giving him a decent fight? So drop your comments below. Let me know how you feel about everything I've talked about in this video, all the points and things I've raised. Let me know in the comment section below. It's happening. I'm out.